This is going to be the most important video that I've ever recorded, whether for my professional content creation career or for my personal fun stuff that I do on YouTube. And the reason why is because I believe we are sitting at the dawn, the very precipice of one of the most, if not the most important technological revolution to ever happen. And you immediately get pause. Maybe you're a little cynical and you're thinking, Knox, you're being hyperbolic, right? That's kind of what gives you pause. And this is the entire point of this video, is to explain to you what the technological revolution actually is. What problems does it actually solve? And what is really happening behind the scenes or front and center right now in the world. And that is the advent of Web3. You may have been thinking to yourself this whole time, I was going to come here to talk to you about cryptocurrency and blockchain, but really, that's just a piece of the puzzle. That's just a tool. To set it up as kind of an analogy, blockchain is akin to electricity. But the real revolution was what you can do with electricity, like the light bulb. The light bulb was the revolution, and electricity is what just facilitated. Well, what we're really talking about here is Web3, the new version of the internet, is the light bulb. It is the revolution, and the blockchain just facilitates it. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you the evolution of Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and how we are at the very dawn right now of Web 3.0, and why that's going to be such an incredibly big deal. Then we'll talk about where blockchain fits in and helps facilitate that, and why I believe Solana is going to be the blockchain, or one of the most important blockchains that facilitates it, and where does it go from here? How does it spread out across the world and actually facilitate these new levels of human connection? That's what this video is all about. So if you're new to technology, if you're new to blockchain, cryptocurrency, web stuff, don't worry. I'm going to break all of this stuff down so that you understand what's happening in the world today. Let's go. Things are happening right now around you. Big things, major things. Major corporations, humongous corporations, are diving into this new realm of Web3. And this begs the question, why? What is it? What's the value add there? And where does the blockchain fit in? And that's what I'm seeking out to show you. Some of the things that you may or may not already be aware of. Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, steps down from Twitter to focus solely on his finance empire with Square. They're combining all of their Square businesses and subsidiaries into something called Block now that's going to be focused on blockchain. No doubt you've heard about this transition from Facebook into Meta. That's because they're going to be focusing on something called the metaverse. Yes, I am going to be talking about that coming up. We see brands like Adidas partnering with NFT projects like the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Even things that you might not be totally aware of or noticing is going on, things like the Ethereum blockchain now has a market cap of $517 billion. That is $37 billion more than JP Morgan Chase, the largest publicly traded bank in the world. Why is that? How is it that the Ethereum blockchain has generated that much value? Is it really all hype, or is there something special to it? There is. And it's not the blockchain, it's Web3. This is what Web3 is. And of course, because we live in a world with lawyers, I have to tell you things like nothing in this video is financial advice because I am not a financial advisor. You should always do your own research whenever investing in really anything, because assets like cryptocurrency, NFTs, whatever, they all have volatility as part of it. There's risk associated with it, and you should do what's best for you in your own situation. That's the truth. You do have to do those things. I'm not a financial advisor and all those things. Now, the real thing that's happening here is Web3. And in order to understand Web3, we need to talk about how we got here. The thing that happened in the 90s, you no doubt know about this internet thing, right? This is kind of a meme that's actually been floating around a lot within the cryptocurrency space, is there's an interview with Bill Gates sitting down with Dave Letterman, and Dave Letterman literally asks Bill Gates, so you've heard about this internet thing? Like, that's the actual question, and Bill kind of laughs and says, yeah, it is. And then Letterman says like, well, I heard you could stream, a baseball game over the internet. And Bill laughs and says, yeah, you can. And Dave goes, have you heard of the radio? Very sarcastically, like trying to downplay the importance of the internet. Guess who was right in that conversation? This is what happened in the late night. Really, I mean, since ARPANET basically created the internet, but this is where it all started. This was the first major technical revolution, was the internet. And this is what we call the first version of the web, Web 1. And what Web 1 did was it connected people to information. People could now publish information towards the internet, and everybody could now go to the internet and consume these static websites like GeoCities and all of that stuff that you remember, where I could publish information like an encyclopedia or really anything, how to build a widget, and people could find it. And if this was a timeline, this would be going on for a while, really until we get to about 2004, when the next phase of the internet came along, and this was Web 2.0. What really started this? Well, you could make an argument that it was something like MySpace that started it, but really it was thefacebook.com. Now, the Facebook.com launched solely with the purpose of connecting college students to other college students. You had to have a .edu address in order to sign up. That was the only way you could sign up. And it wasn't for a few years that they opened it up to the rest of the world. I think it was like 2006 or 2007 when they opened it up to the rest of the world. I was a college student in 2004. I remember hearing about it from, fraternity brothers or something like that. And we were like, whatever, maybe it's just a cool way to like share pictures of stuff we're doing. And we didn't realize the revolution that was happening here. If Web 1.0 was connecting people to information, the Facebook really launched a revolution of social media where this connected people to other people. And now, instead of having to go out and find a website to do some research or look something up, now we can get nearly real-time or real-time communications and dialogues with massive amounts of people. This streamlined and facilitated the way we meet people and talk to each other and share real-world events and ideas and coordination. Now, obviously, over the last couple decades, social media landscape has changed. Facebook isn't really the Facebook, the way it used to be or the way you remember it. There was this evolution of Instagram, Twitter. Now there's this TikTok thing that's going on. I have a TikTok channel where I shoot little short videos about what I'm doing today. And that's what really the idea with Web 2.0 was that it was connecting people together. But somewhere along this way, we got jumbled up with commerce, and commerce hasn't been perfect just yet. Commerce came about during the Web 1 and Web 2 phase. This is where businesses set up shop, and we started to facilitate the ways that we could set up a business and sell products online. It hasn't been perfect, but it's been very, very good. And obviously, this is one of the biggest impacts that the internet has had on society, was the fact that we can now buy and sell products online. But an interesting thing happens is that there are still many different limitations to how commerce is enacted, particularly right here. When I'm looking at people to people, there's not a perfect way that I could trade assets or things like digital assets or physical assets directly to people around the world. If I have something that I want to buy or something that I want to sell, I still have to find some sort of business or organization to facilitate it. I may have to stand up a store on Amazon or post it on eBay, and then there's going to have to be dealing with currency and transactions. And this works fine for the most part, but it's not perfect for a truly global world. And that's what Web 3.0 is actually setting out to resolve. One of the best ways that I've heard this described was actually by Alexis Ohanian. Alexis Ohanian is the founder and creator of Reddit, married Serena Williams. And he actually identified Web 3.0 as arguably the most important thing to happen to technology ever. And it looks kind of like this. From the future, we're going to say, like, let's put this as 2020 because this is really when the advent began. Historically, it began in 2017, but we're going to say it really started to pick up in 2017. He said that we are going to look back at the Web 2.0 period kind of with these dashed lines, more or less. And it's going to be seen as a transition period where we connected people together, we brought commerce into the mix, but we didn't streamline the way that assets could actually be sent back and forth throughout the world. We didn't streamline the way that we could truly connect with other people and share anything that we want to in real time in a perfect situation. And this is what Web 3.0 actually sets out to solve. This is one of the most important things that there is. And this gets into the big ethos of decentralization and blockchain in general. Again, not focusing so much on the blockchain, but more focusing on the problem that we're solving. You have no doubt heard about this thing called Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin launched, I think it was 2010, and it had one sole purpose. Its sole purpose was to just be a digital currency and do nothing else. And in that regard, it has been very, very successful. You may be wondering to yourself right now, why is it worth something like 50,000 United States dollars at the time of this recording? In fact, in recent history, it got up to as high as around $70,000 for one Bitcoin. The answer at the end of the day is kind of confusing for especially people in established countries like America, where they have a normal currency, something like the United States dollar. The United States dollar is a relatively stable currency. You can go to the store, buy things with it, and you don't really have to worry much about what happens with the United States dollar. Of course, there's always going to be some sort of fear about inflation or interest rates or labor market statistics or things like that. But for the most part, the rest of the world looks at the United States dollar as like the standard for how a currency should behave. The thing is the rest of the world isn't fortunate enough to have stable currencies. The thing about currencies, especially in third world or developing countries, is that they are extraordinarily volatile. They are extraordinarily subject to influence and manipulation. And when you live in a type of country where there may be corruption and then the currency can't be trusted, you run into a lot of issues. So in Latin America, South America, Africa, Middle Eastern, Asian countries, even some Eastern European countries, really all of these different places around the world, there are a lot of issues with how people go to the store and buy groceries. Bitcoin, when it was created, was not created to solve these social problems, but it has kind of evolved into that today. Now, I'm not here to make an argument for Bitcoin because I'm not a huge fan of Bitcoin in the long run or really the technological revolution. I'm just trying to explain to you a very important ethos of what decentralization does. The way Bitcoin works is all of these different miners around the world are generating what's called a protocol. It's going to look like this, a big protocol, where every single time Bitcoin exchanges hands or a portion of Bitcoin exchanges hands, all of these different workers around the world have to agree on the fact that this currency was actually changed hands. If I send some to you or if I buy something from you and I pay in Bitcoin, all of these things around the world validate that that transaction actually happened. And the fact that this validation has to occur on a global scale all the way around the world, and all of these independent actors around the world all have to agree upon it in order to make it work, that actually means that the Bitcoin protocol itself cannot be manipulated. There is no actor that can come in and manipulate the Bitcoin protocol itself to take money away. The inherent result is that Bitcoin, compared to third world country currencies and everything, is a very stable currency, and it has now broken down international walls. People in the United States are very willing to accept Bitcoin as some form of payment. They don't care if you're in South Korea, which is a perfectly stable country, or South Africa, or Ghana, or El Salvador. They don't care. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and that has transcended borders. And that's the very important thing to understand here, is because of the decentralized nature of Bitcoin, and the fact that the protocol can't be manipulated means that it is trusted around the world. And now there is a currency that people exchange back and forth. Now, where does it really derive its value from? There is only 21 million that will ever exist. So it's a very scarce supply. And now the rest of the world is starting to demand it because it is a truly stable currency relative to what is a normal currency for the rest of the entire world. And people, even in the United States, are very happy to accept this as a payment regardless of where you're from. And that's kind of the important thing. But that's all Bitcoin does. That's really all it does is just be a currency that people accept. The real revolution started to happen with the Ethereum blockchain. Around 2017, well, Ethereum's been around for a while. It's been around, I think they really started building it in 2013. But in 2017, Ethereum decided to do something particularly special. They decided to invent something called smart contracts. And the idea here with smart contracts, and particularly with the Ethereum blockchain, is they wanted people to come along and create their own web-based applications. Just like an Amazon can come along and create a web-based application to sell stuff. Or, somebody could come along, like a stock market exchange like E-Trade can make a web-based application to trade stocks. I think that's actually a pretty good comparison, is you log into E-Trade, you click trade, and it goes to the New York Stock Exchange, and then, it makes a trade of stocks or mutual funds or bonds or options or whatever it is. The idea with Ethereum is that they wanted to create something called smart contracts. So that way you could build your own web-based application that interacts with their blockchain. And with this smart contract, you could create your own coins, like cryptocurrencies, that could be used within your application. So if I had a product that I wanted to sell and I wanted to create my own little currency that goes along with it, I could absolutely do that, and you could buy my product using the currency or something like that. Or we could create things called tokens. Now, we're going to get into NFTs a little bit more, but they're also something that can be sent back and forth using the Ethereum blockchain. This is really where the Web3 revolution comes into play, is that now I could build a website to sell my widgets. And when somebody comes to my website, they can choose to connect to the Ethereum blockchain, which is connected directly to their own personal holdings of Ethereum. They could shop for whatever they want and then simply click purchase. And then the transaction is carried out on the Ethereum blockchain. The actual exchange of assets happens on the blockchain itself in real time, which is kind of a fascinating thing. And the cool thing about it is it kind of circles back to Bitcoin in the sense that Ethereum has all of these little workers and miners around the world. Right now, that's changing a little bit, but nonetheless, it's happening right now. And everybody, all of these workers have to agree on how this protocol is going to behave in a truly decentralized nature. These are, again, independent actors who are making the Ethereum blockchain work. And there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of them right now, all working together to do this. Now, again, because it's decentralized, it can never be manipulated, and therefore is a very trustworthy protocol and currency. So now I spin up a web application where I want to sell, again, my widgets or my digital assets or anything like that. And somebody in any country in the world can come to my website, connect to it, purchase whatever they want to. The entire transaction is carried out on the blockchain, regardless of where they are in the world, regardless of any currency that they may have, any fiat currency that they may be using locally to them. We agree upon the currency here as Ethereum or whatever coins I want to use, and the transaction just happens. The barriers have now been broken down, and we're all agreeing on this currency to use in order to make it happen. Now, I understand that probably at this point, this concept still feels a little fuzzy to you, so now it's time to actually see it in action. Watch this. I'm firing up my web browser, and the first thing that I'm actually going to do is I'm going to open up my Ethereum wallet. This is where I hold my Ethereum, and what this actually is it's just an extension in my web browser. Now, this is available on mobile or all of the platforms that you would expect, But the extension in Google Chrome web browsers is something called MetaMask. So I'm going to open up MetaMask here and get signed in. I'm going to type in my password. And just like that, I have a little bit of Ethereum loaded into my MetaMask wallet. It's showing me what my balance is right now. And this little extension here is now connected into the Ethereum blockchain. I have my own address associated with it. And now what I can do is I can go to these Web3 applications and connect this wallet into that application and then perform transactions in real time. So maybe I want to do something like exchange currencies. Maybe I want to go hold a different currency. I can go to an exchange, a decentralized exchange, where I can do that. This is going to be something like Uniswap. Let me launch the application here, like it says, and all I have to do is look in the top right, and it automatically connects me in. So it sees that I have a balance of Ethereum. I could swap it very quickly to any other protocol that I'm really interested in. I could do something like Engine token here, and I can specify a balance of 0.1, and it tells me out of the result, I'm going to get 157. By clicking the swap button right here, watch what happens. It'll say, do you want to confirm the swap? And then it pops up in MetaMask, which is where my wallet is, actually asking me to basically click the buy now transaction. Now, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to hit reject. That way it just, fails out of this for a second. But this is kind of just highlighting something very, very, very simple as to how a Web3 based application works. Now, I understand that this concept of just swapping currencies may not have seemed very sexy at first glance, but the real magic, again, was the revolution of Web3, what's really happening under the hood. This is the part where it gets a little wonkish, and you may want to bear with me to try and understand this. But the question became, when I swapped Ethereum for ENJ, where did that ENJ come from, and where did the Ethereum go? Well, the advent of Web3 and decentralization last year in 2020 really brought about something fascinating called DeFi, or decentralized finance. And what's actually happening here is people who have both a lot of Ethereum or a lot of ENJ, one or the other, they've decided that what they can do is they can create a gigantic pool of this money. So when somebody like me comes along and I want to swap Ethereum for ENJ or back or vice versa, they can collect a tiny little fee, just a tiny little fee for doing this swap or transaction. This is no different from when you buy or sell or trade cryptocurrencies on a centralized exchange like Coinbase or FTX or Binance, or when you trade stocks, bonds, mutual funds in your IRA airport. Like, no matter what, when there's a trade, somebody somewhere is taking a fee, but more than likely with those centralized exchanges or marketplaces, it's a pretty expensive one. Well, here in decentralized finance, it's actually a pretty cheap one. And because people, again, from all around the world, regardless of where they're from or what their fiat currency is, whatever, it doesn't matter. Those barriers were broken down, and anybody who happens to have these currencies can pool it, and whenever a trade takes place, they get a cut of that fee. So now they're actually earning some money. I'm not asking you to understand that nitty-gritty detail. What I'm asking you to understand right now is, because of decentralization in Web3 and the breaking down of these barriers, this entirely new world of finance and how we do finance has emerged in the last 12 months. And that's been a pretty massive thing. Taking it a step further, now decentralized finance not only brings things like swapping and pooling our money together, but we can also do things called farming. We can even lend money or borrow money, just like you would do in a savings account. But the fascinating thing about this with DeFi is because the way borrowing works in this world is everything is truly collateralized. So if I want to borrow money in decentralized finance, it has to be collateralized. But I now have instant liquidity, meaning I could borrow money right now, right this very second, without any background checks or social security numbers or credit checks or anything like that, because again, the loan would be fully collateralized, but nonetheless, I find instant liquidity. This is, again, I'm not asking you to truly understand that. I'm asking you to recognize that a financial an entirely new revolution has happened here because of the very recent advent of Web3. And you're like, okay, well, Knox, is it really a big deal? Let's circle back to Ethereum's chart for a second here. I'm talking about this really happened in the last year. Ethereum went from $573 a coin to today at $4,415 a coin. Do I think this is having an impact? Yes. Obviously, this is having an impact because the world is now embracing, and I'm talking about the world, not just you in your little hole, not just you in what's happening in your backyard or your neighborhood or your church or whatever, schools you go to, not just your tiny little spot in your state that you're in or the city you're in. The world likes the fact that these barriers have been broken down and the ability to move capital seamlessly is accessible. It's happening. And we all agree, whether you're in South Africa, South Korea, Iran, I don't care where you are. Wherever you are, if you're in Mexico, if you're in, Jordan, if you're in Turkey, if you're in the UK, we all agree that this is the currency that we want to use. So, this has been the fascinating advent of Web3, and then we start to see where blockchain comes into the picture. But what's actually evolved a bit in recent history is that the blockchain itself, at least Ethereum with smart contracts, has brought about challenges. Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm jumping back to this Uniswap transaction for 1 second because I want to highlight something that you may have overlooked when we actually explored what was happening here. I'm going to just fire up the exact same transaction. I'm going to click swap, and we're going to take a look at what it actually says in MetaMask right here. Do you see this right there on the screen? It's kind of tough to see. You got to zoom in on it. There's a fee. Every time you use a blockchain, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Litecoin, whatever blockchain you want to pick, there's a fee to use that network. This is no different from paying tax or paying a fee, for like buying a car or something like that. There's a fee associated with it. So if my initial trade right here says it was going to be $442, we tack on the fee, and now it actually cost me $509 to use this. So I'm sitting here telling you right now that if you just want to do something basic on the Ethereum blockchain, it's going to cost you $70 to do it. And that's not even an expensive fee for Ethereum. Check this. An absolutely humongous amount of capital trades hands every single day on this website, OpenSea.com. This is where people buy, sell, trade NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain. Look at this. If I want to buy this NFT right now for 0.1 SOL, 0.105 SOL, I can click on it and choose buy now, but I want to take a look at how much this transaction fee is actually going to cost. MetaMask is going to pop up one more time, and now I see the fee for this transaction has nearly doubled to $133, and I'm here to tell you right now, that's still pretty cheap for an NFT transaction on the Ethereum blockchain. Typically, to buy NFTs or trade NFTs on Ethereum costs more because it's a slightly different protocol. So the fee to use Ethereum is just for an NFT. Before I've actually paid for the NFT, it's going to cost me $133. Why is that? This is kind of the problem that some blockchains are facing today, and this is what I want to set up why Solana is going to be the one that gets us there. One of the things that you are no doubt skeptical about with this whole blockchain thing is going to be the environmental impact and the amount of electricity that is consumed to actually run a blockchain. And that's a totally fair and valid concern. Luckily, in recent history, many blockchains have recognized that is a significant problem and are taking drastic steps to fix that. Ethereum, because it is a little bit of an older blockchain, we already talked about this a little bit, is really called a proof of work blockchain. Long story short, this means it actually uses these miners. These little blocks that I'm drawing are going to represent miners, and they're spread out all around the world, and they're consuming a large amount of electricity to try and calculate the next block that could be added to the chain. That's what it is. That's where all of our transactions live, are within blocks. And they're all working and calculating and making sure that we're in total agreement about this. The way the Ethereum blockchain works right now, not that it will stay like this for long, I'm about to explain, but the way it works right now is when I come along and I want to purchase an NFT, what I have to do is I have to actually bid for the miner's attention in order to get them to process my transaction first. Otherwise, somebody else may come along and bid higher than me for their attention in the form of gas, and they'll actually get the NFT before I do. This is actually a big thing that happens when like major NFTs launch or major projects are launching on the Ethereum blockchain. It actually turns into a bidding war where people will pay thousands upon thousands of dollars in gas fees alone just to get the miners to process their transactions first. And this is why Ethereum has now become a pretty expensive blockchain to use. And this is the biggest problem that they have today. The fact that it may cost you typically, on average, $150 to $300 in a gas fee just to buy an NFT off the Ethereum blockchain, just because you're bidding for the attention of the miners to process your transactions first. Beyond that, even if you do get their attention, it could still take you up to something like 15 minutes for that transaction to actually get processed, for the money to actually leave your wallet, and then you receive the product that you buy for. So Ethereum, the reason why it got this way is that Ethereum was the first one to do this. They were the first one to do smart contracts and Web3 and have all of these cool Web3 applications and the exchange of money back and forth around the entire world. It is a $500 billion blockchain. Make no mistake that the rest of the world sees significant value in the Ethereum blockchain. But it has run out of scale. That is what we like to say, is it just can't go anymore because it's just too expensive. For more people to flood into Ethereum, they're just going to bid up the price of gas fees beyond the point that it is right now, and it's exhaustive. Now, luckily for us, there are a bunch of things that are underway to fix Ethereum. The first one is Ethereum 2.0. This is where they are effectively getting rid of miners entirely. And they're moving to an entirely new type of blockchain called proof of stake. That might not be true. There's still going to be miners in some capacity to keep some form of the blockchain running. But proof of stake is going to be the dominant way moving forward. And this is where we move off of miners into servers. And these are servers that are going to be running in data centers, probably not in home. But there's still going to be a lot of servers, and they're still going to work to decentralize the network in a very important way. But they're going to consume significantly less electricity while still remaining in a centralized manner. Beyond that, Ethereum has things called side chains or layer 2 chains, where people can move assets off of Ethereum onto a different blockchain, perform all their trades or transactions, and then move it back to Ethereum when they want to. The thing about this, though, is that all takes time. We're not there yet. We're just simply not there yet. And we need solutions for Web3 right now. And there are solutions out there. There are some interesting blockchains and protocols that are rolling out, like Polkadot, like Tezos, and more importantly, my favorite one that I've used is Solana. Now, I've used a ton of blockchains, and I mean a ton of blockchains exploring all of these different Web3 technologies. And when I say a ton of blockchains, I'm talking about the Binance Smart Chain, I'm talking about Atom, I'm talking about Polkadot, I'm talking about Phantom, I'm talking about AVAX, I'm talking about Matic. I've used them all. I used Solana, and in about 30 seconds, I went, oh, that's better. That's the one. That's absolutely the best blockchain. Solana is a proof-of-stake blockchain, meaning there are no miners. There are no miners in the Solana blockchain making the Solana blockchain work. Instead, what they use, instead of miners, they use something called validators. And validators are servers at the end of the day. They have lots of validators, thousands of validators, spread out all around the world, operated by independent third parties, and all of those validators, much like how a miner validates the blockchain, validators validate the blockchain and contribute to the fact that Solana remains decentralized. And that's a very important thing to know, is that the blockchain itself cannot be manipulated by any party. That's the thing that makes it trustworthy. That's the thing that makes us go, well, that's fine. But Solana's blockchain is also special in the sense that they have created a protocol that is ultra scalable. When I do a transaction in Solana, the transaction hits my wallet in 1.4 seconds, and it's finalized on the blockchain by validators in roughly 12 seconds. Remember when I was talking about Ethereum, and it could take, 7, 15, 20 minutes to actually process it? Well, in Solana, it's going to be 12 seconds end to end. You're probably going to recognize it within 1.4 seconds. Now, the thing that you're probably wondering is, okay, well, it's fine. It's going to cost a fee to use it, though, right? How much does it cost? In Ethereum, You're bidding for the attention of individual miners. Well, in Solana, that's not the way it's going to work because that's not the way proof of stake works. There are no miners. Instead, there is a flat fee of 0.0005 SOL. I'm going to write that here, SOL. What is the price of SOL today? The price of SOL today is roughly $180. So if I bring up my screen, clear it for a second, I'll do 180 times 0.12345, enter. It's going to cost me less than 1 penny to perform a transaction on Solana, which will take effect in my wallet in roughly 1.5 seconds. Do you see why I'm talking about here? Why this is such a big deal? Do other people believe Solana is a big deal? Let's take a look at what it's done in the last year. Jumping back to coinmarketcap.com, I'm just going to hit back, and we're going to scroll down to Solana. Now, right here, I see that Solana is the number 4 blockchain overall, valued at roughly $60 billion, around 1/9 the value of Ethereum. Now, Solana is a brand new blockchain. It has only been around for just over a year at this point, since its inception, since its existence. If I give it a click, and we look at the 1-year chart here of Solana, it's gone from $1.70 to today at $195. More than a 100x multiple, because people have woken up to Web3 is the future. That is the revolution. We are breaking down the barriers in order for people to communicate with each other, exchange ideas, but also exchange assets of value with each other. And Solana is the best chain to do that on. It's fast and it's nearly free. That's it. So developers are now developing on Solana. People are now buying on Solana. People are now trading on Solana. And that's because it's the most usable blockchain. Point in case, my mom uses Solana. That's right. My mom holds Solana. She uses Solana. She buys products and NFTs on Solana because it is user-friendly. It is consumer-friendly, and it's not a pain in the neck to use. When I tried to show her Ethereum, she started thinking about, okay, well, now what I actually have to do is withdraw money out of Coinbase into my bank account. Then I can deposit from my bank account into a different platform just to get around paying gas. This is literally what my mom's thought process was. Whereas with Solana, that's just not a problem. And everybody is now recognizing that right here, based on what we're seeing on the chart, also based on what we're seeing in the real world as more and more and more projects and capital flow into Solana. And this is why I think Solana is going to be the biggest thing that's going to usher this in. Now, what is the real catalyst for Web3 and the metaverse and NFTs? What is all of this about, and why is this all going to be a big deal? This is really the part that you've been waiting for. To set up an example about what is really happening with Web3 today, I'm going to use one of the most revolutionary things that we saw this year in 2021 and the advent of gaming on the blockchain, more specifically, pay-to-earn video games. This is going to be a mind-blowing thing that I want you to pause and really think about. But I want you to think about video games in general, first of all. When you're playing an MMORPG, right? Maybe you've played World of Warcraft before. Maybe you know about World of Warcraft. Or the old school games like EverQuest, Lineage 2, Ion, Star Wars, The Old Republic. I played them all. I'm a big fan of them. We know about the digital flex, right? We go raiding with our guild. We find a community of people that we like to be with. Maybe we get off work and we're thinking about, I like my friends at work. I like my friends at work. I like my friends in real life. I look forward to Friday when I'm going to go have a drink with them at the bar afterwards. But it's Wednesday night. It's raid night. I'm kind of excited to get on with my digital friends, go raiding, go kill some zombies, go kill some dragons or whatever, and get that epic, shiny gold loot so that way I can just go stand by the auction house and flex, right? That's what we do. That's what, and maybe that's why streamers are out there streaming today, is because they got that drop and they want to have the digital flex. That's the new era that you're approaching now, is the digital flex. The new generation is growing up with the digital flex. And that's what NFTs do. But you haven't recognized the real value of NFTs until you thought about it like this. Let's say you're playing World of Warcraft. This is just a hypothetical example. This is not in the works that I know of or anything like that. And you go raid with your group, and you kill the mega boss, right? You kill the mega dragon or whatever, and it drops the ultra sword. Where does the value of that sword come from? We go to the auction house and we can list it for amount of gold, probably, as long as it's not bound to our soul, right? And that sword has a finite amount of value for the most part, but it's kind of fluid because as more and more people raid, as they get stronger and stronger, more and more of those swords drop, and then eventually the market gets diluted and the value of the sword goes down, right? What if it didn't? What if there was a finite amount of these swords? What if the ultra in-game sword, there were only 200 of them ever to be produced in existence? Well, all of a sudden that sword would have a tremendous amount of value, wouldn't it? What if I told you that sword could actually be portable? What if I told you that sword could transcend the video game? For instance, maybe World of Warcraft actually has a connection into the Solana blockchain. And maybe I come along and I write a web application that could connect into the Solana blockchain where you could take your sword and post it for sale on my marketplace. And you could sell it for something like, I don't know, 2,000 SOL. I'm going to write it right here. Which if we assume that SOL is $200 right now, that's what, $40,000? No, that's $400,000. Sorry about that. And you may be laughing right now to yourself looking at these values. I'm going to show you in just a second why that's not funny. But now you've got this ultra rare thing. There will only ever be 200 of them existing. And now you've got a centralized place where you could trade this asset for a real currency. If you want to convert SOL, if you want to pull out your SOL into US dollars or whatever your local fiat currency is, you could, because it's SOL. At the end of the day, I could send it to Coinbase, sell it, and then pull it out into my bank account. This is literally happening right now. Right now, this is the advent that is happening. Video games are building on blockchains. And when you get the Ultra Sword is actually an NFT. It is a token that lives on the blockchain. And it can be traded on the blockchain. So if I list the sword on the app and somebody in South Africa who has SOL comes along and wants to buy the sword, they absolutely can. And then the next time they log into the game, there's the sword in their inventory. That's the way it works. And again, I can't stress this enough. This is happening right now with these dollar amounts. Here's the proof. One of the most anticipated games that is coming out really at all in the next year or two is a game called Star Atlas. In order to play Star Atlas using the Solana blockchain, you're going to have to purchase a starship in order to navigate around the entire economy. These starships are NFTs that exist on the Solana blockchain. So I can bring up my Solana wallet, the equivalent Solana wallet. Remember we talked about MetaMask and Ethereum. The equivalent Solana wallet is called Phantom. So I sign in with my Phantom wallet here. Down in the bottom left corner, I'm going to connect into the website. I'm going to say, here's Phantom, let's get connected. And boom, now I'm connected. Now I have the ability to buy these starships on the blockchain in real time. So I can scroll down and I can look at some of these blockchains. We see there is a level of rarity associated with it. I can explore these starships, I see there are levels of rarity associated with them. Epic, legendary, rares, and uncommons. When I look at these legendaries, what these really are, these are actually starships that are designed for entire guilds. So the purpose of this game is going to be to group up with large guilds, raise a tremendous amount of money so that you could actually purchase these mega starships and get around together. Now again, I said, this is probably going to cost a lot of money. Let's take a look at the Pierce C9. This is known as a capital starship. We see that this is legendary. And right now, the Pierce C9, well, it looks like it was originally for sale for $28,900. That was the original sale price for it. If I'll choose to actually go to the open marketplace and see how many are for sale right now, only 3 are listed. I'm going to change the currency to be USDC, which is pegged to the United States dollar. Well, actually, there's a few listed in USDC. When I change the currency, there's 5 listed. The cheapest I can get one right now is $48,878. You see where I'm going with this? There is significant value in these. Now, this doesn't mean that the only way you can play this game is for $48,000. That's not the case. You can come down to the commons and buy in for significantly cheaper. Here's one that originally sold for $20, and that's what you can use to get started playing this game. But this is also not really setting up the real revolution. It's not just the fact that you can get these rare drops in the game and then sell them on a marketplace back and forth. There's also the play to earn functionality. As you play the game, you are going to accumulate a token that they call Atlas in the game. And that Atlas token, as you already saw, has the ability to buy you things like starships or upgrades or whatever. But beyond that, that token is still a token on the blockchain. So if you're just a little short of Atlas, you can go to a exchange, just like we saw earlier when I was at Uniswap in Solana. We call it Radium. I can go to an exchange right now, and I can swap some Solana for that Atlas token. So I could buy 2,525 Atlas tokens right now on the real world, jump back into the game and purchase more, or continue playing the game and try to accumulate more Atlas. So maybe if I get so far in the game, I've accumulated so much Atlas, I could come back and sell that Atlas for Solana or USDC and cash out and bring it back. I'm now literally getting paid to play this game. This is a thing that is literally happening right now in the gaming industry. It's such a big deal. Check this out. Literally breaking news yesterday, Ubisoft, you know them, the people who make very important video games, decided they are going to launch their own in-gaming blockchain connectivity on the Tezos blockchain. Now, of course, this disappointed me that they didn't choose the Solana blockchain to do this because I believe Solana is a better blockchain than Tezos, but Tezos is still a good blockchain. But this is really just highlighting the fact that all major game studios, EA, Ubisoft, whatever, you name it, they have all recognized that this advent is happening, that now we need to evolve in such a way that we need to have our video games helping people earn money and giving them a way to trade the assets in the real world. And again, it breaks down these walls, these barriers that we don't need, to deal in US dollars or the Mexican peso or anything like that. It doesn't matter where you are. If I list something on a marketplace, it doesn't matter who comes along to buy them. And this is kind of the advent of NFTs at the end of the day. You've seen it now with the Ultra Sword, right? But this is what NFTs do. NFTs are actually taking something, whether it's artwork, whether it's a game item, and it's turning it into a tradable asset on the blockchain. And that's why NFTs are a big deal. You see the sweater that I'm wearing right now. This is an NFT project that I'm a big fan and a big part of. If I go to a Solana marketplace for NFTs, this is called Solinar. I can scroll down, and right here we see the Degenerate Ape Academy. Now this is, a very fun project that I'm a big part of, but right here, this is it. This is what the project that I'm a big fan of and a big part of is these really like degen apes that kind of represent a silly degen blunt culture. And when you buy this NFT, it's not just buying artwork, you're actually joining a community of people who believe in where this project is going. They actually have special plans coming. They have merchandise launch, a video game that's coming. They're generating their own token, just like we saw what Atlas is doing. And they have community get-togethers and things like that. You learn a lot about NFTs the more you get involved with them. But again, like I see these NFTs for sale right now. If I decide I like this guy with his cool glasses, I could place an offer or buy it right now for 33 Sol. And the cool thing about that is it doesn't matter who the seller is. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter what fiat currency they're using. Those walls have been broken down. And right now, I can purchase this through my Web3 application. I'm already connected in with my Phantom wallet here. I can literally click buy now. Oh, and it tells me I don't have enough money because I don't. Well, it doesn't matter. I could place an offer or buy it now if I had the sufficient funds. I could buy this NFT right now, regardless of where the seller is in the world or what fiat currency they use to go buy their hot dogs. That's the magic of what's happening here. And the revolution that is occurring with decentralized finance, with how NFTs are transcending the digital world into the physical world, and mega corporations are jumping on board. And now we see how the gaming industry is entirely changing around Web3. We see projects in video games like Star Atlas. Another one is Aurora that is launching on Solana. They're really flipping the entire world on its head. And this is it. We're like in the first year of this right now, where the entire world has come to the conclusion that we don't need these physical boundaries anymore. We do need fiat currency to survive and go get gas or whatever, but we don't need it to connect with people and transact back and forth. These barriers are being broken down, and the mega corporations, everybody else has started to realize this. The charts prove it too. And that's why I think it's really, really important to understand that this development shift is now happening. You're going to see Web 2 developers become Web 3 developers over the next year or two. And there's going to be different challenges that come along with it, especially as the blockchains themselves change, the protocols change, and everything like that. So I think this is it. I think this is going to be a big deal. I know it's going to be a big deal. I know this is going to be the future. And that's why I think, this is it. This is our oil tycoon. This is it. This is our gold rush. This is our chance. This is the revolution that is happening. And I think Solana is the blockchain that's going to get us there. I really do, because it's the most performant one out of any one that I've used. It's the most scalable one out of any one that I used, and it's the most worthy one. So this is my take on how Web3 is revolutionizing the world, how blockchain and Solana can revolutionize the world. Thanks for stopping by, y'all. See you in the next one.